American National is proud to support No Ceiling, helping to tell the stories of professional women. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Anne.
Thanks for having me.
So you are part of the brains behind some of Springfield's beloved eateries. So, of course, we have Tinga Tacos, Civil Kitchen, and Finnegan's Wake. Tell me where your love of food and hospitality comes from.
I think it was one of those things where I was ingrained in it as a child. Growing up, my parents' friends owned a bunch of restaurants, and so we would visit quite frequently. And then when I started working, when I was quite young, to try to pay for some things I really wanted, it just naturally came to me.
So then tell me a little bit about your childhood, because you grew up in the Springfield area, right?
Yes.
Okay. And your parents are immigrants?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. So my parents moved to Springfield almost 45 years ago. My dad was actually accepted to the 4-H program at Mizzou. And once he got there, he realized that he can't speak English very well. And so college was clearly off the tables for him, but an opportunity came up in Springfield. He moved down here. My mom joined him later on, and we grew up here. Me and my siblings, there's 4 of us. And it was, looking back, probably, I couldn't have asked for a better childhood. Back then, if you asked me, it would probably have been a bit different answer, but looking back, I'm very thankful for the childhood I had.
So much of the things that make us adults are found in those childhood years, So, tell me about the experience of having immigrant parents and, because of course they would have struggled being the first people in their family to be, coming to the States, and the English not being their first language. And, you mentioned the poverty aspect. What was that experience like as a kid growing up with those parents?
It's honestly crazy. I look back, and now that I'm a newly mom, I have a toddler, I only have one, and I have 4 siblings, there's 4 of us, and how my parents did it is a mystery to me, honestly. Again, the language barrier. Mm-hmm. My father had to work all the time just to pay the bills. My mom was at home with 4 kids. God knows how, keeping the house clean and doing whatnot. And on top of that, it's not like we were just sitting at home, glued to the TV and whatnot. She got us active in any community activity possible that really helped us grow into the different fields that we're in, whether it was sports or the arts or anything like that. So I don't know how they did it, and I'm in awe of how they raised us. Back then, too, I do remember, one of the first times I ever had a friend come over. I believe I was in 1st grade or so, and it was super exciting for me. I remember helping clean the house up, and she came over, and she was actually supposed to spend the night. And I remember an hour or 2 in the night, she was crying, and she made my mom call her mom, and she actually came and left and picked her up. And we didn't know what the issue was at the time, but I remember the next day when she was talking to me, she's like, "Your house smells really funny." I couldn't stay there any longer. And, I, at that point, didn't realize, kimchi is a very, very popular Korean dish, but the beauty of kimchi is the garlic, the fermentation, things like that. And it's a very potent ingredient. So the whole house, apparently smelled like that. Clearly, I don't know that as a child, because that's the house that I grew up in. But I remember when she told me, I was just mortified, and I was almost angry at my parents. That's a staple in our diet. A lot of what we ate as kids actually came straight from our garden. And so my parents made kimchi, that's what we ate with rice and whatnot. So that was a large part of what we did. Yeah, I'm angry about it. And I told them I'll never invite friends over again. And I remember specifically one day I came home from school, and there's this giant freezer and fridge in our garage that they had bought used, but they had put the kimchi then into the garage so it would lessen, that's them just showing what they're trying to do to help us. It was back then, yeah, you should do that. But looking back, and I'm what? You're a little kid that's, 7 years old or 6 years old is telling you what to do in your household. But for them, that it made an impact enough for them to actually do something with it. Just shows what kind of parents they are.
From SBJ Podcasts, I'm Christine Temple, and this is No Ceiling, a show that goes in depth with local women, sharing their journey to the top of their professions and the challenges and triumphs they faced along the way. They're rewriting the script on success, and there's no ceiling.